Before we start on today's video, I want to do some market research. Comment down below with the most disappointing non-nomination from this year's Olivier Awards. Who were you hoping to see nominated that wasn't? Oh my god, hey! Welcome back to my Stagey YouTube channel. If you're meeting me for the first time, hello! My name is MickeyJo and I am obsessed with all things theatre. I am a professional theatre critic based here in the UK, and I'm also a stagey content creator based here on YouTube. And right now in the UK, it is one of my favourite times of year in the theatre industry because it is awards season. So the What's on Stage Awards recently took place. They are an awards show which is predominantly nominated and voted for by the public, by theatregoers, and now we have just learned the nominees for the 2023 Olivier Awards. So the Olivier Awards are basically the UK's version of the Tony Awards, saluting excellence on stage in plays and musicals and dance and opera and family entertainment and comedy and all of the good things. They're going to be taking place at the very beginning of April, and I'm going to be talking about them a lot between now and then because there is so much to say. So when the nominations got announced, I did a live stream here on my channel. You can still go and watch that if you want to see me reacting in real time, because there were some surprises. There were definitely some shocks and surprises about the shows that were being included, but also the shows which were being left out. And that's something that happens at all of the awards. There will always be snubs, there will always be surprises. If everything was completely predictable, then it wouldn't be interesting. And it's a two-sided coin as well, because for every brilliant, exciting, unexpected, wonderful first nomination for a rising star who it will mean so much to, there will be disappointments to other performers and creatives and producers. That being said, this year is already proving controversial because there are some sizable omissions, particularly in the musicals category, but really across the board, there are many things that did not get a nomination because, broadly speaking, it feels as though the Olivier Awards this year are nominating like the same 5 shows. There was a lot of love for the revival of Oklahoma that's come over here from Broadway, which played at the Young Vic and has just opened at the Wyndham's Theatre. I was at the opening night of that last night. There was a lot of love for Standing at the Sky's Edge, which has transferred from the Sheffield Crucible down to the National Theatre. Sheffield did very well last year with their transfer of Life of Pi, and now Standing at the Sky's Edge is, I think, the most nominated musical at this year's Oliviers. There was a lot of love for My Neighbour Totoro, which played at the Barbican Theatre and will surely be making a comeback. It also swept the What's on Stage Awards for what that's worth. What's on Stage for what that's worth. That was hard to say. The other heavyweights were Prima Facie, starring Jodie Comer, soon to be travelling to Broadway, and A Streetcar Named Desire, starring Patsy Ferran and Paul Mescal, soon to be opening at the Phoenix Theatre in the West End, having sold out its run at the Almeida. But not every show was so lucky. So today I'm going to be talking you through the performers, the shows, the creatives who were excluded from this year's Olivier Awards nominations. Who got snubbed? We're going to find out. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to subscribe to my Stagey YouTube channel for plenty more theatrical commentary, reviews, and all sorts of other stagey content. If you would like to gain access to some exclusive content on my channel and often get to see my videos before everyone else does, you can click on the link in the description and sign up to become one of my YouTube members for just £2.99 a month. Ahead of my first ever trip to New York to see a bunch of Broadway theatre later this month, trust me, you're going to want to be part of that club. I have so many exciting ideas coming. But for now, let's stay in the UK and talk about the Olivier Awards. So when we're talking about shows that got snubbed at this year's Olivier Awards, I feel like there's definitely an elephant in the room. Not you. There's an elephant in the room, and that elephant is called Bonnie and Clyde. Bonnie and Clyde, one of the most popular new musicals of the year. It opened at the Arts Theatre originally after a hugely successful one-night-only concert that became a two-night-only concert. Jeremy Jordan and Laura Osnes, the original stars of the Broadway production, were going to come over here and reprise their roles in concert. Then Laura Osnes made some life choices that prevented that from being possible, and Jeremy Jordan starred opposite Frances Mailey McCann instead. Frances then returned in a fully staged version of the show in the West End at the Arts Theatre alongside Jordan Luke Gage. The two of them both gave acclaimed and fan-favourite performances. So did George Maguire, so did Natalie McQueen, the entire cast. The show played its limited run at the Arts and is set to return very shortly at the Garrick Theatre again in the West End. But they did not manage to pick up a single Olivier Award nomination this year, despite being a fan-favourite show. Now, this is a really great argument for something like the What's on Stage Awards, where Bonnie and Clyde actually won Best Musical, because it speaks to what really resonates with fans and what means a lot to them, because the Olivier Award nominators and fans of commercial musical are not necessarily the same demographic, and they're not necessarily the same people. And the Oliviers are not looking to reward the most popular, the most commercial thing in town. That being said, just because a show is commercial and it's not at a venue like the National Theatre or the Donmar Warehouse, and it's not necessarily considered high art, doesn't mean there is nothing of tremendous creative value that deserves recognition. In previous years, there has been a 5th nominee for Best Musical, and Bonnie and Clyde, or another show I'm about to mention, could certainly have been included on that list. The most egregious lack of nomination for Bonnie and Clyde might be for some of its performers. Jordan Luke Gage and Frances Maynard McCann both give scintillatingly good performances in the title roles, and Natalie McQueen was also a standout for her role as Blanche Barrow, and surely deserved a nomination for Best Supporting Actress in a Musical. In any case, to have nothing in the creative categories as well, it does seem a shame for Bonnie and Clyde to have had the success that it's having, and for it to have no recognition at the Oliviers. But ultimately, the best revenge is for them to just run successfully at the Garrick and continue to earn all of the fans that they have. Because while awards shows continue to neglect the popular productions will just continue to find new fans and make more money. Look at Heathers as a great example of that in the West End. And while some shows need the recognition from the Olivier Awards to bring attention to them, shows that are already popular definitely don't. So I mentioned another musical that was similarly snubbed. Now, that's not entirely true, because they did manage to pick up one singular nomination. I am talking about Newsies! So, Newsies at the Troubadour Theatre, Wembley Park, is one of the big popular hits of the year for theatre goers. It's this amazing, immersive experience that's really created something very special in this venue, but it was not nominated for Best New Musical. None of its cast received nominations. Its score was not nominated. The score by Alan Menken was not nominated for Best New Score. Can you wrap your head around that? Frank Wildhorn for Bonnie and Clyde, not nominated for Best New Score. And I'm going to talk more about this in another video, because the way that the Oliviers treat the Best New Score category is a problem in and of itself that I can't even tackle today. So Newsies did get an Olivier nod for their choreography, and I feel like there would have been rioting in the streets if they hadn't. Rioting that looked a lot like arabesques and pirouettes, but it's such a stunning dance show, and the way it's choreographed by Matt Cole that is stylistically familiar of the original Christopher Catelli choreography, and to have boys dancing on stage in a way that still feels masculine and youthful and boyish and rebellious and conveys all of these emotions, but is still separate enough from that original choreography. It's just tremendous work. It's really tremendous work. And I personally would have been furious if Matt Cole hadn't been nominated. The categories where I think Newsies really ought to have been nominated but weren't, one of them is for Best Set Design. Morgan Large's set design for Newsies was so striking and so impressive, and really extends to so much of the theatre. They use so much of that space in such a clever way. You would have thought that that would have earned them recognition, but with set design shared between plays and musicals, it makes it very hard for shows to get a look in. Another category I was hoping Newsies might get a nomination for is Best Featured Actor in a Musical, and not just for one of them. So in recent years, the Olivier Awards love to acknowledge groups of people at a time. They've nominated the entire cast of 6 in one joint nomination, and last year the winner for Best Featured Actor in a Play were the 7 actors who play the tiger in The Life of Pi. So I thought, this year, how do we outdo a nomination for 7 actors by nominating the entire ensemble of Newsies? They really steal the show, and they deliver all of the best, most applauded moments in the show with their incredible choreography and acting and just their unstoppable energy. I thought for sure the Newsboys from Newsies might get a novelty nomination, but alas, it wasn't to be. And while we're talking about choreography, I'm thrilled that Newsies did get the recognition, but someone who didn't was Arlene Phillips, Dame Arlene Phillips, I believe, whose choreography for Grease was similarly galvanizing. She is getting a special Olivier Award this year for her services to choreography. Whether the timing of that has anything to do with them realizing she hadn't made the shortlist for nominees, I don't know. But I can speculate. Oh, I can speculate. and I shall. But it isn't just musicals which were getting locked out of the Oliviers. This year there was one play revival that surprisingly did not get any nominations. I am talking about... Now, how to say this on YouTube? I'm talking about... So this revival of Mike Bartlett's piercing play about sexuality, which opened at the Ambassadors Theatre last year, originally starring Jonathan Bailey, Taron Egerton, Jay Danuka and Phil Daniels, before Taron Egerton had to withdraw from the production, was not nominated for any Olivier Awards. And given the acclaim around Jonathan Bailey's central performance, with him not leaving the stage and him working up a sweat, running around, and this physicality that he portrayed and this angst of trying to weigh his options, for him to not be nominated at all was a very big surprise, especially as the Oliviers do like to acknowledge a star on stage, and Jonathan Bailey's star is certainly on the rise, with him starring in the second series of Bridgerton, becoming this Hollywood heartthrob. He's about to be Fiyero in the Wicked movies, but alas, no What's on Stage love for him. And he's a previous What's on Stage award winner. He won for his performance in Company, and for what it's worth, I saw both, and I think I preferred his performance in and yet he won for that one, not even nominated for this one. I mean, that's surprising, isn't it? Other elements of the show, I understand how Marianne Elliott's direction might be considered polarizing. It's surprising still not to see the play nominated among the other play revivals, especially when something like Jerusalem did earn a nomination. So Jerusalem was a hugely beloved play. Many people believe it to be the best play of the century, the best British play that we've seen in a very long time. And it made a return this year in the same production with the same star, Mark Rylance, starring again alongside Mackenzie Crook, who also returned. The same set, the same creative team. It was even playing at the same theatre. Once again, it was at the Apollo. Now, this was nominated for Best Revival of a Play, which makes you question what we really mean by revival, because strictly speaking, it felt a lot more like a remounting. I saw this production and it was incredible and hugely emotionally impactful. But has the same work gone into remounting this production and just bringing it back, as has gone into taking a play and looking at it in a new way and reinvigorating it and looking at how the themes relate to a modern audience? Something like Cock that merited re-examination with the new way that we talk about gender and sexuality. It has this new set, it has this new approach, it has a completely new direction. That feels a lot more like a revival than Jerusalem did. Now let's talk about performers. So this year was a huge year for leading actresses in a musical, and we knew from the beginning that some of them were going to have to be excluded from this category. So the ones that made it in: Miri Masika from the band's Visit, Faith Amole from Standing at the Sky's Edge, Katie Braben for Tammy Faye, and Anushka Lucas from Oklahoma. I was lucky enough to see most of those performances this year, and those that I saw were captivating and commanding and beautifully sung, but there were a great many who did not make the list. Courtney Bowman for Legally Blonde. Many people expected her to be nominated for an Olivier Award, not just for how fun and energetic and exuberant her performance was, but also because her casting in Legally Blonde represented a serious corner turned for the industry in terms of inclusivity in casting. She was also the winner of the What's on Stage award for Best Performer in a Musical, and for the winner of that award to not be even nominated at the Oliviers shows the disparity between the two awarding bodies. Similarly, Lauren Drew won alongside her at the What's on Stage awards, also for Legally Blonde, in the category of Best Supporting Performer in a Musical, was also not nominated when it came to the Oliviers. In fact, that production of Legally Blonde did not get a single nomination. It was not nominated for Best Revival of a Musical, and Regent's Park Open Air Theatre, the venue where it played, which has done quite well before in terms of gaining recognition, did not get a single nomination this year at the Oliviers. Some other leading actresses in a musical that were not recognised. We've already spoken about Frances Mailey McCann, but there were two other leading actresses in Standing at the Sky's Edge. Faith Amole pulled out in front to be the nominee representative of the show, but Alex Young and Rachel Wooding also gave fantastic performances and would have equally been very at home in this category. We could also talk about Amara Okarika for My Fair Lady. She was stunning in that. Gina Beck for South Pacific. Beverly Knight in Sister Act. Now, Beverly Knight did get a nomination at this year's Oliviers, but it was for Sylvia, where she was playing a supporting role. Interestingly, Beverly Knight could have been nominated in 2 different Olivier Awards categories this year had she been nominated for Sister Act. But while she was nominated for Sylvia, another omission from the Best Leading Actress in a Musical category was her Sylvia co-star, Sharon Rose, who played her daughter, the title character, Sylvia Pankhurst. And it wasn't just the leading performers in a musical where we saw some snubs. There were also some supporting performers who surprisingly were not nominated. So despite being eligible due to its run at the London Palladium last summer, Disney's Beauty and the Beast did not earn any nominations at the Olivier Awards, not for Best Revival of a Musical, and not for any of its actors or creative team. Gavin Lee not getting recognition for his supporting performance as Lumiere is very surprising. Indeed, you could also have expected to see Sam Bailey getting a nomination for her performance as Mrs. Potts. She was really stunning and gave us a genuine show-stopping moment. Some more supporting talents in musicals that were not nominated this year. Patrick Vale in Oklahoma leaps right to the top of this list. I got to watch his performance again last night and was reminded how urgent and vital and heartbreaking and raw and human it is. It's one of the great stage performances I saw in the last year, and for him to not be nominated in that category shocked me completely, especially when we saw so many acting nominations for Oklahoma. 4 of its cast members were nominated for their performances in the show, but Patrick Vale's ultimately feels like the standout performance for me in many moments of the show, and it's the one that stays with me the most after I leave the theatre. Equally, though they didn't have as much meaty and dramatic material, the supporting cast of Sister Act did not earn any nominations, other than Clive Rowe, who got a nomination for his role as Sweaty Eddie. But none of the nuns, including Jennifer Saunders, Keala Settle, Lizzie B, Leslie Joseph, none of them were recognised for supporting actresses in a musical. Now let's talk about the overlooked performers in plays. And I say performers rather than actors or actresses because the Olivier Awards, much like the Tony Awards this year, have a gender problem. So the acting categories at the Olivier Awards are split into Best Actor and Actress in each field, either leading or supporting in a play or a musical, and they only have the capacity for male identifying or female identifying nominees. This leaves non-binary performers in a very difficult position. One such performer was Emma Corrin, who this year gave one of the most acclaimed performances in a play for Their Turn in Orlando. I was not able to see Orlando, but the reviews spoke for themselves, and Emma Corrin was reviewed much more highly in this than they were for their performance previously in Anna X, which was Olivier Award nominated. Now, to me, I wonder if that's about timing, because Emma's performance in Anna X happened right after they had starred as Princess Diana in The Crown, and there was a lot of buzz about them performing on stage. With them following this up with another stage performance, there was slightly less buzz about this one because it wasn't as much of a big deal. I think the same thing will prove true with Lily Allen, who was nominated for her stage debut in 222 A Ghost Story. She's following that up with another play this year. I doubt that we will see an Olivier Award nomination for that one when it comes to next year's Olivier Awards. But the gender problem lingers because Emma Corrin, were they to have been nominated, would have had no category to comfortably be nominated into. Similarly, Leah Harvey, a non-binary performer who starred in last year's revival of As You Like It at Soho Place, also would have had no category to be nominated into. The success for non-binary representation at this year's Olivier Awards is the recognition for Rob Madge's amazing autobiographical show My Sons Are Queer, But What Can You Do? But were Rob to be nominated for their performance, and I don't know whether this would have gone into a play or a musical category necessarily, again, there would have been no category for them to be nominated into. This is a problem, Olivier Awards. I've just named 3 acclaimed performances. There were doubtless more that appeared on stage in the last year, and they're not going to go away anytime soon, nor should they. We need to find a way of making the Olivier Awards inclusive. And all the awards. So alongside Rob Madge's My Sons Are Queer But What Can You Do, in the category of Best Entertainment or Comedy, we had Jack and the Beanstalk, the annual London Palladium Panto, which was nominated not only as a show in that category, but also for its design elements, set and costume. Another panto that was conspicuously absent from this year's awards, however, was Mother Goose, the touring pantomime that stopped at the Duke of York's Theatre over the Christmas period, starring Sir Ian McKellen, as Mother Goose. This was beloved by audiences, it was beloved by critics. I gave it a 4-star review for whatsonstage.com when I saw its opening night at the Theatre Royal Brighton, and it's very surprising given how much weight this seems to have in the industry right now and how much stage return for Sir Ian McKellen means to everyone. It's surprising not to have seen that recognised at the Olivier Awards. It feels like the kind of thing that the Olivier Awards would normally do somersaults for. Did they just not want to nominate 2 pantomimes side by side? Comparatively, this was my first year seeing the Palladium Panto, but I've heard a lot of other people say that it felt like they were rehashing a lot of older Palladium Panto material. So for that to just be nominated every single year almost inevitably, and to have this newer theatrical panto not be, does feel a little bit disappointing. Was it pushed out not by the Palladium Panto, but by My Neighbor Totoro's choice to be nominated in this category rather than in Best New Play? Certainly it feels like My Neighbor Totoro seems set to win this category. It's been this hugely well-received production. It swept the What's on Stage Awards, and interestingly, this could be the first time we see a show sweeping at the Oliviers which has been nominated for the Best Entertainment or Comedy category, rather than being a play or a musical. Finally, I want to turn our attention towards the category of Outstanding Achievement in an Affiliate Theatre, where 5 brilliant plays were nominated this year from venues like the Soho Theatre, the Bush Theatre and the Royal Court. However, none of these were musicals, and there were affiliate theatres this year that produced great musicals. Shows like Ride and Allegiance at the Charing Cross have been really successful, and it's surprising not to see them acknowledged in this category. It feels like another way in which the Olivier Awards are consistently erring on the side of plays rather than musicals. I mentioned before about some great new musical scores not being acknowledged. Alan Menken has been snubbed this year for his score of Newsies. Frank Wildhorn similarly for Bonnie and Clyde, and there is another fairly big songwriter who has also not been recognised for his work in scoring a new musical. I am talking about Sir Elton John. Now, if the Oliviers do care at all about who they might be getting on stage to give a speech and increasing ratings for their TV broadcast and having a starry red carpet and getting media attention, then they're certainly going the wrong way about doing all of that by overlooking the efforts of Sir Elton John, who wrote a new musical score along with Jake Shears of the Scissor Sisters this year for Tammy Faye at the Almeida. The show itself is nominated for Best Musical, and 3 of its cast members are nominated as well, but Sir Elton John has not been nominated for his score. Instead, we have this combined score and orchestrations category in which only one completely original score has been nominated, David Yazbek's score for The Band's Visit. Now, the Olivier Awards treatment of musicals as opposed to plays is something I want to expand on a little bit more. So I'm going to be talking about that in another video coming very soon to my channel. And I'm going to be answering the question, why is it that the Olivier Awards hate musicals? If you want to make sure you don't miss that one, you should probably subscribe to my channel and make sure you join as one of my members if you want to see it before everyone else. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to subscribe to my Stagey YouTube channel, make sure to comment with your thoughts down below, and make sure to go and find me on other social media platforms at MickeyJoTheatre. I am on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. I hope that everyone is staying safe and that you have a stagey day. For 10 more seconds, I'm MickeyJoTheatre. Oh my god, hey, thanks for watching, have a stagey day. Subscribe!